Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Thanks for showing up. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Yeah, it was pretty good here. We had a pretty nice day for Thanksgiving. You know, it was a little cloudy, but it rained the night before, and apparently they had a huge thunderstorm up in northern Maine. When you go up past, up around like near Holton and in that area, big thunderstorms, and but here it was just rain, and then by morning time, you know, sun was out and everything, and it was really nice out. Just, you know, we don't usually get nice, bright, sunny days for Thanksgiving. And then, of course, the clouds started to roll in a little bit, but throughout the day, you know, it was pretty nice out. So I went and visited friends and family, and I did all that, and so it was nice driving around town without a million cars on the on the road. Yeah, I mean, that's the way a Bangor ought to be, because it's so congested during the week, you know, the regular work week and stuff. And now, with the shopping kicked in into gear now, it's going to be a madhouse out there. I hate shopping on weekends, and I hate shopping during the holiday season because everybody is just in this fight or flight mode. You know, I mean, it gets rowdy. People just, you know, grabbing and stepping on each other's necks. I mean, it's crazy. But I never liked that. I like shopping during the week, you know, on a regular work week. Usually there's fewer people shopping because they're working and stuff like that. So it's better to go then than to go on, you know, on the weekends, and get stuff. I mean, it's even that way with restaurants. You know, they Ruby Tuesday there in Brewer, they had closed it down. Which was kind of a shock to me because the Ruby Tuesday, I always thought did pretty good business here. We had a Ruby Tuesday in the mall, and they closed that down years ago, way back. I'm not really sure why they closed it, but to this day, no one's using that spot. You could still see the tables and chairs in there that Ruby Tuesday had set up, but you know, nobody's. You would think another restaurant would move into it, you know, but maybe because it's inside the mall, it's probably very expensive to have a restaurant in there. Maybe that was one of the reasons why the Ruby Tuesday there closed up. So that left only the one in Brewer. So they had to shut it down 3 months ago. They said it was temporary. I'm not sure why. I was thinking maybe they failed a health inspection or something. I don't know. And then after, you know, 3 months had gone by, then they announced they were permanently closing Ruby Tuesday down. And I was like, oh shit. I mean, that's usually a good place to eat, especially for Thanksgiving, because they were open on Thanksgiving, you know, and they have a pretty decent salad bar. And then I went online just to try to get some facts, and I said that Ruby Tuesday corporate was not doing well. They were actually shutting down many restaurants throughout the country. I don't know. It doesn't sound like, doesn't sound good. But I would imagine a lot of restaurants right now are probably struggling. There's 3 restaurants, locally here that do well, and it's Applebee's, Chili's, and Texas Roadhouse, and I think Buffalo Wild Wings. But those are the 3 restaurants, chain restaurants, I think that do well here in this town. Of course, you got your other, like Governors and all them. They've been around for years, and it doesn't look like they're any gonna disappear. But yeah, those are the ones that really do well. I always thought Ruby Tuesday would have been one of those too, but no, I guess they never really seem to get well in this area. But they did well in Brewer because Brewer didn't have, any big restaurant chains there. I mean, it was just you had McDonald's, Burger King, and the usual stuff, KFC. But Ruby Tuesday was sort of a nice restaurant for that city. Now it's gone. So I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to put there. I know that the old what is it? What do they call it? Burlington Coat Factory, whatever the hell they call that. Burlington, yeah, Burlington Coat Factory. The one that was up next to Target. They moved that store to where Toys R Us used to be. Now that's where Burlington moved to. They're going to take that Burlington Coat Factory that they left behind, and they're turning that into a Martin's. So they're closing the Martin's, I think, in Brewer, and now Martin's is going to move their Brewer operation into Bangor at the Burlington Coat Factory building there. I mean, when I went by that store yesterday, I saw they were already repainting it, with the red and white colors of Martin's. So they're going to be putting themselves. Somehow I think that would be a smaller building compared to where they were in Brewer. I'm not sure, but the Brewer buildings seem to be much bigger than that. So I don't know. I mean, because because the Martin's that's in Brewer. I mean, it goes way out there. I mean, it's a huge building. But now they're going to take and move that into a smaller area. I don't know how that's going to work out for them, but good luck to them for that. Maybe they figure. I mean, they've been doing great business in Brewer. It sits right on the main road, which is perfect. I don't know why they'd want to get rid of that building, but they're gonna, I guess. But I don't know for sure if they're going to close it. I just know that is what's going into the old Burlington building is a Martin's. So I think people are looking forward to that. As far as what happens in Brewer, I can't say with 100% certainty if they're shutting that down or not. But they are moving, they are opening up a Martin's in Bangor. Anyway, I guess most of you probably already heard about the Afghan national who carried out an attack after driving across the United States and shot 2 National Guardsmen. I think, yeah, this is a picture here, the 2. There you go. So, anyway, I'm going to read this here from AP. An Afghan national who worked with the CIA in his native country and immigrated to the United States in 2021 drove from Washington State all the way to the nation's capital, where he shot 2 West Virginia National Guard members deployed in Washington, D.C., the U.S. officials said Thursday. The suspect had worked in a special CIA-backed Afghan army unit before immigrating from Afghanistan, according to 2 sources who spoke to the AP on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the situation. And Afghan Evac, a group that helps resettle Afghans who assisted the U.S. during the 20-year war. Janine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, declined to provide a motive for Wednesday afternoon's brazen attack of violence, which occurred just blocks from the White House. The presence of troops in the nation's capital and other cities around the country has become a political flashpoint. No shit. Pirro identified the Guard members at a news conference at Specialist Sarah Backstrom, 20 years old, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24 years old. The West Virginia National Guard said both had been deployed in D.C. since August. Both remained hospitalized in critical condition on Thursday, while the office of West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey said he met with the victims and their families and other Guard members. Pirro said that the suspect, Ramanula Lakenwal, launched an quote-unquote ambush-style attack with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. The suspect currently faces charges of assault with intent to kill while armed in possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. Pirro said that, quote, it's too soon to say, unquote, what the suspect's motives were. The charges could be upgraded, Pirro said, adding, quote, we are praying that they survive and that the highest charge will not have to be murder in the first degree, but make no mistake, if they do not, that will certainly be the charge, unquote. The rare shooting of National Guard members on American soil on the eve of Thanksgiving comes amid court fights and a broader public policy debate about the Trump administration's use of the military to combat what officials cast as an out-of-control crime problem. Trump issued an emergency order in August that federalized the local police force and sent in National Guard troops. The order expired a month later, but the troops have remained in the city where nearly 2,200 troops currently are assigned, according to the government's latest update. The Guard members have patrolled neighborhoods, train stations, and other locations, participated in highway checkpoints, had been assigned to pick up trash and guard sports events. The Trump administration quickly ordered 500 more National Guard members to Washington following Wednesday's shooting. The suspect, who was in custody, also was shot and had wounds that were not believed to be life-threatening, according to a law enforcement official who was not authorized to discuss the matter publicly and spoke to the AP on condition of anonymity. Suspect worked with CIA during the Afghan War, a resident of the eastern Afghan province of Khost, who identified himself as Lakenwal's cousin, and Lakenwal was originally from the province that he and his brother had worked in, a special Afghan army unit known as Zero Units, in the southern province of Kandahar. A former official from the unit who spoke on condition of anonymity because of said, why is everybody talking on, Christ, everybody's afraid to be identified, and because of the sensitivity of the situation, said Lakenwal was a team leader and his brother was a platoon leader. The cousin spoke to the AP on condition of Jesus, for fear of reprisals. He said Lakenwal had started out working as a security guard for the unit in 2012 and was later promoted to become a team leader and a GPS specialist. Kandahar is in the Taliban heartland of the country. It saw fierce fighting between the Taliban and NATO forces after the U.S.-led invasion in 2001. Following the Al-Qaeda attacks on September 11th, the CIA relied on Afghan staff for translation, administrative, and frontline fighting with their own paramilitary officers in the war. Zero units were paramilitary units manned by Afghans but backed by the CIA, and also served in frontline fighting with CIA paramilitary officers. Activists had attributed abuses to the units. They played a key role in the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from the country, providing security around Kabul International Airport as the Americans and others fell back during the Taliban offensive that seized the country. CIA Director John Ratcliffe said in a statement that Lakenwal's relationship with the U.S. government, quote, ended shortly following the chaotic evacuation, unquote, of U.S. service members from Afghanistan. Lakenwal, 29 years old, entered the United States in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden administration program that evacuated and resettled tens of thousands of Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from the country, officials said. Lakenwal applied for asylum during the Biden administration, but his asylum was approved under the Trump administration, Afghan evac said in a statement. The initiative brought roughly 76,000 people to the U.S., many of whom had worked alongside U.S. troops and diplomats as interpreters and translators. It has since faced intense scrutiny from Trump and his allies, congressional Republicans, and some government watchdogs over allegations of gaps in the vetting process, even as advocates say there was extensive vetting and the program offered a lifeline to people at risk of Taliban reprisals. Lakenwal has been living in Bellingham, Washington, about 79 miles north of Seattle, which, with his wife and 5 kids, said his former landlord, Christina Weidman. Wednesday night, in a video message released on social media, President Trump called for the reinvestigation of all Afghan refugees who entered under the Biden administration. Now, look, I just told you, or I didn't tell you, but I just read to you how this man's, the guy, the killer's asylum, the shooter's asylum was approved under the Trump administration, okay? Now, I know he's been going out there saying this was Biden who let this guy in, but it was Trump that approved it, because this happened at the end of Biden's presidency, and it was picked up under the Trump administration, okay? But he's been going around lying about that, okay? And now he's saying, oh, now we need to reinvestigate all these refugees we took in here, okay, who entered under, quote, if they can't love our country, we don't want them, unquote, he said, adding that the shooting was, quote, a crime against our entire nation, unquote. Attack begin investigating as terrorist attacks. FBI Director Kash Patel, who Trump is considering getting rid of, said the shooting is being investigated as an act of terrorism. Agents have served a series of search warrants with Patel, calling it a, quote, coast-to-coast investigation, unquote. Patel said authorities have been in, quote, constant contact, unquote, with the families of the wounded service members, quote, and have provided them with every resource needed during this difficult time, unquote. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser, a Democrat, has previously questioned the effectiveness of using the National Guard to enforce city laws. Last week, the federal judge ordered an end to the deployment there, but the judge also paused her order for 21 days to allow the administration to remove the troops or appeal. On Thursday, Bowser interpreted the shooting as a direct assault on America itself, rather than specifically on Trump's policies. Quote, somebody drove across the country and came to Washington, D.C. to attack America, unquote, Bowser said. Quote, that person will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, unquote. All right. So, yeah, that's this whole thing that I just read that to you. But yeah, I mean, anonymity and Trump going around telling people, oh, this is... Okay, look. let me throw this out there just to see if this sticks to the wall. Do you suppose that if we didn't have Trump as president, that this would have happened? You know? Do you think that if let's just say Kamala Harris was the president, do you suppose this person from Washington, this Afghan refugee or whatever, would have drove all the way to Washington, D.C. and did what he did? I mean, doesn't it seem a bit out of the way to drive so far? If you're a terrorist, I mean, doesn't it make more sense to, hit something that's going to be noticed? I mean, he just goes to this all the way to Washington, D.C. and just shoots 2 National Guardsmen who nobody really knows until now. I mean, what kind of point was he trying to make? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of haze there in that logic of that part of the story. Now, I'm not trying to say there's a conspiracy here. I'm just saying that as it's being reported right now, there seems to be a lot of questions still unanswered here at this point that I'm recording this, okay? And, you know, people, you know, in the comments below, you know, they don't seem to really understand fully. You can tell by the comments they're making. You know, the press hasn't really given the public a whole lot to go on to really comment about. And, you know, it's, you know, usually when something like this happens and, you know, and everybody starts talking about it in the early phases of the investigation, conspiracy theories will just run wild. But I'm just looking at this article as to what's been reported here, and it just seems kind of odd to me that this guy, you know, went all the way, I mean, to D.C. I mean, I don't know. And the fact that, you know, he goes into an area where, you know, there's going to be a lot of police and guards and stuff. I mean, what are your odds of you getting away with it? If you're a lone gunman or something like that, I mean, you're going to get caught. Even if you manage to kill a couple of people, you're never going to get out of that city. Okay, it's like a suicide attempt, you know. And I don't know. I mean, the guy himself was shot. I don't know if he's still in critical, but they said he's going to survive anyway. So I don't know about the National Guardsmen that were shot. You know, I guess I don't know. As I'm recording this, I don't know if anything's happened. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of talk about it. So, like I said, let me go back to what I was trying to stick to the wall here. Do you think that if Kamala Harris had become president, this would have happened? Maybe, you know, maybe I'm asking this because we went through a year of hell with Trump here. Okay, we really have, all of us. I don't care if you're MAGA or not. You went through hell with this guy as your president. And he's pissed off a lot of people, not just in the United States too, mind you, okay? Around the world. You got people protesting around the world against our own president. Okay, so you know he's pissed off a lot of fucking people. I think this man is like shit, and the flies are attracted to shit. And if it wasn't going to happen now, it would have eventually happened later. I mean, there's going to be more people that are going to try to attack him personally or go to Washington, D.C. and do some damage. I don't know, but it's not safe to be around that guy. Okay? If I was you, you know, unless you're wearing bulletproof body armor or something, I wouldn't get in within 10 feet or 10 miles of that fucking guy. Okay? Because he's dangerous. He's dangerous because he's a target. He's a walking target. You know, and I think, in my opinion, I think that his disdain is drawing in fanatics, drawing in people who are pissed off. I mean, think about him sending ICE out to go after people he considers, shouldn't be in this country. You know, he's rounding up all kinds of people. It ain't all Latinos. It ain't all blacks or whatever. I mean, he's getting everybody that they can find that they think is here illegally. And now he's sitting here saying, well, now let's go after all the Afghan immigrants that were here. I mean, now what's he going to do? Is he going to start exporting everybody that was brought here under Biden and just get rid of them, deport them? Like I said, this fits his fucking narrative of justifying, or at least in his mind, to continue to do what he's been doing, which is to just snatch people up off the streets, no due process, no rights given, and all of a sudden they disappear in the shadows of the night. Okay? So, like I said, you know, he doesn't seem to understand that the more this goes on, the longer this happens, the more angry people become, the more cynical they become, the more defiant they become, and what he does is he's a good person at snowballing problems into major problems. And that's what he's been doing all year long. He's been, you know, packing this snow up over and over again. Now he's got a fucking boulder of a snowball here. now the country at large is just really getting to the point where we've had enough. We want him out. Okay, I don't care how, but he's got to go. He can't stay. You know, he's not welcome in our government anymore. So I just, you know, like I said, that's the first question that came to mind is, would this have happened, you know, if he wasn't the president? You know, Joe Biden was president for in the United States, and you know, things like that didn't happen. Okay, you know, and he had a pretty reasonably good approval number. Yeah, sure, people had some issues with him. Okay, some issues were valid, and some were just plain bullshit. But the fact is that in comparison to Trump, this guy was an angel. Okay, Trump, yeah, he's got issues. There's like, what can we still like about this guy? And I that's like, you know, it kind of comes across my mind as, how the hell could anybody still like this guy? All we've seen from him is hate, hate, and hate. You know, and his disdain for everything. He's not a likable guy. I don't see how the hell this man ever had any friends. You know, you know, maybe Epstein and him had something in common. Maybe they both are just haters, or maybe they bonded on just one thing, and that's his goddamn fetish for young underage kids. You know, maybe that was the only thing that kept them two guys as friends. Because, you know, from what I understand, he shafted Epstein out of some purchase of a land or a house or some fucking thing, you know, and they had a fight about that. But other than that, it seems like these two clowns were just together just for the, you know, you know, for sex trafficking and whatever the hell else went on there. But like I said, it's just, you know, when you sit and see something like this happen, it doesn't really surprise you. I mean, I've been kind of waiting for something like this to happen, but at the same time, something like this happening, Trump will turn that to his advantage. And what I mean by that is he'll say, well, I need to have more troops in this area, and that's what he done. He ordered 500 more National Guardsmen in the Washington, D.C. area. Okay, again, tightening his grip around the public and stuff like that. Right now, it's probably like living on a military base in D.C. right now. And if I lived in that town, I'd be kind of pissed. You know, like, what the hell are we living in here? Nazi Germany? You know, but this is what Trump wants. But Trump creates the problem that he has to deal with. And the funny thing is the more he deals with it, the worse it gets. Because the fucking guy is not reading the logic behind his actions. He's not understanding that what you're doing is really not helping. You're actually making things worse, because as a political leader, the more things you do that annoy folks, the worse people hate you, and then before you know it, you're making more enemies. You know, and that's what he's been doing here all year long. So let's go to commercial break, come back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
So you may have heard by now, but a group called SoCal Patriots in Southern California has decided that they're going to do a MAGA takeover of Disneyland. Because as we all know, Disney's too woke, and conservatives hate it because of all the woke. So the best way, of course, to show a company that you don't like them is to map out an entire day out of your life to literally give that company hundreds of dollars so that they know that you don't like what they're doing, right? That's the smartest thing I've ever heard of in my life. I hate you, so let me devote an entire day to just giving you money every 20 minutes. But that's what these MAGA idiots are going to do. And in addition to fighting wokeness somehow. They also stated that one of their goals is go have some fun by triggering as many liberals as possible at Disneyland in California. Because that's fun to them. The rest of the stuff at Disney, it's ticky-tack. No, the fun part is to trigger liberals because we're going to have on our MAGA hats. Oh, and by the way, they're also selling a lot of SoCal Patriot merch. And that's part of what you need to wear to be a part of the group. So you have to buy their shit in order to go. So, seems like a big old grift if you ask me, right? Because it definitely is. Let me read you this. The meetup, slated for Saturday, February 28th, was shared by SoCal Patriots on Facebook, calling on followers to, quote, give your family a chance to experience Disney on a day with as many like-minded patriots possible, and asking attendees to bring MAGA hats and buy Patriots in the Park apparel, including t-shirts, a hoodie, and even a baby onesie. So, you got to buy their merch in order to really be a part of this. So you're going to fork over even more money than just going to Disneyland and then, of course, whatever the kids want to buy. But hey, it's all to trigger the liberals. Because what better way to show that you love America than to go out there and ruin somebody else's vacation, right? Because that's what y'all want to do. You want to ruin people's days. You want people to walk by, see your MAGA hat, smirk at you, and then you pull out your camera and start confronting them, trying to make it go viral. That's what y'all want to do. What's really going to happen is that you're going to have like 10 or 15. Y'all are probably going to get lost from one another. You're going to be a little, annoyed with all the walking and all that. Nobody's going to pay attention to you or even give a crap about you. And you're probably going to leave early and not even stay for the fireworks, right? That's what's going to happen. After, of course, you all fork over, $175 per person just to walk through the gates. And then, of course, the food. And then the kids are going to want, knickknacks and whatnot and snacks and all that. And you're going to stand in line for hours where you're hoping your MAGA hat's going to trigger people, but really it's just going to be the people in front and behind you that see it and they're not even going to care. So, yeah, sounds like a great event. Oh, and by the way, you idiots also didn't take into account that Saturday, February 28th also happens to be the day of a big Pride event. Yeah, so you are going to be outnumbered by the Pride folks, right? So that's going to be humiliating for you when there's a big, gigantic hundreds or even thousands of people there for Pride, and you've got like a dozen people, probably all from just the same one family. But hey, you do you, right? You go out there, you try to ruin people's lives, vacations, whatever, get them on camera saying something nasty about your MAGA hat so you can make them infamous on the internet. But it ain't going to happen. You're a group of miserable, pathetic, sad individuals that have no lives. Your entire life revolves around that MAGA hat. That is your new identity. That is what you are. It's who you are. It's all you care about. Honestly, living down here in the South, it's a lot like people with the Alabama Crimson Tide stuff. That's their whole damn personality is a Crimson Tide. I hate Crimson Tide, so, a little biased. But that's what they are. That's it. Their whole personality is that one team for a school they never even went to. Kind of like the MAGA folks, their whole personality is that one guy whose club they can't even get into because they can't afford $1 million a year. But they'll buy his $40 hats, his $50, whatever, his $500 watches that have the name Trump misspelled on them. They'll buy his cell phones that, by the way, launched 3 months ago, and yet nobody's gotten their phone yet. So they'll blow as much money as they can, but they'll still never be a part of the club. They'll never be an alumni. So the next best thing they can do is try to ruin other people's lives or even just one day so that they can feel as miserable as those MAGA freaks do 24/7.
entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so as you probably remember, Caroline Leavitt, there, the lawyer secretary, she had a family member that was arrested by ICE a few days ago, I guess, or well, actually it was quite a while more than that. I mean, but anyway, there's a follow-up story to that here from the Daily Beast, written by Josh Fiallo, entitled, Caroline Leavitt slammed by nephew's family for ignoring ICE arrest. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has been eviscerated over her refusal to help after ICE detained her nephew's mom. The White House official has gone radio silent since Bruna Ferreira, who was the mother of Leavitt's nephew, was swept up by ICE this month. Ferreira's sister, Graciela dos Santos Rodriguez, tells the Boston Globe. Ferreira, I don't know if I'm saying it right, who's 33 years old, a native of Brazil, has lived in the United States since she was 6. Dos Santos Rodriguez says her sister has been a part of the Leavitt family for more than a decade after she had a son with Leavitt's brother, Michael Leavitt Sr. They never married, but share custody of their son, who splits his time between his dad in New Hampshire and his mother in Massachusetts. Quote, if she were to help in any way, if she were willing to do anything to help us, she would have reached out by now. She has my phone number. We've been family for the last 13 years, unquote, Dos Santos Rodriguez told the Globe. Quote, I understand the policies and how it looks, but I also think when it comes to family, you put certain things aside. I don't care who you work for, unquote. A source familiar with the situation claimed to the Daily Beast that Santos Rodriguez was less involved in the Leavitt family, saying, quote, this individual is the mother of Caroline's nephew, and they have not spoken in many years. The child has lived full-time in New Hampshire with his father since he was born. He has never resided with his mother, unquote. However, a 2014 news article about Leavitt's brother winning $1 million as part of a fantasy football competition included him saying that Ferreira was his fiancée. He added that they lived together with their 8-month-old son. The family is photographed together in the decade-old article, and older photos on social media show them smiling with a young son. Here, I'll show you the picture here. Let me see. Let me get that. Yeah. Okay. That's Michael Leavitt and Bruna Ferreira and their son in that picture. Quote, I need the lights fixed on the back of my car, unquote. Ferreira told a local paper when asked if their family had an immediate need for the $1 million. Quote, and we need a lamp for my son's room. Other than that, we don't really need much. We have our health. We have a nice condo. We really are blessed, unquote. Leavitt said he planned to spend some time of the money by taking Ferreira on a trip to the West Coast, making the current matter more bizarre. Dos Santos Rodriguez revealed that some in the Leavitt family, including her child's father, pushed her to self-deport after she was detained back to a country where she has no home and hardly speaks the language. Quote, they just keep saying, tell her to self-deport, unquote, she told the Globe. Quote, self-deport to where? Brazil is not her home. They're trying to push it off as a vacation. That's not a vacation. Bruna barely speaks the language, unquote. Leavitt, 28, has not addressed the situation. Michael Leavitt, who has since remarried, did not respond to a request for comment. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement that Ferreira has, quote, a previous arrest for battery, unquote, and that she overstayed a tourist visa in 1999 when she was merely a kid. Quote, under President Trump and Secretary Kristi Noem, all individuals unlawfully present in the United States are subject to deportation, unquote, McLaughlin said. Ferreira, who was leaving her home in Revere, Massachusetts, to pick up her son at the time of her arrest, is now being held in an ICE facility in Louisiana. The Globe's report said, quote, her car was suddenly swarmed by immigration and customs enforcement agents, unquote. They were not, quote, they were not the most gentle with her, unquote, Dos Santos Rodriguez told the paper. Here's another picture here of her and her son. A GoFundMe for Ferreira has raised nearly $20,000 as of Wednesday morning. The fundraiser says that, quote, she has maintained her legal status through DACA, followed every requirement, and has always strived to do the right thing, unquote. Quote, I'm sure my sister was terrified, frantic, Dos Santos Rodriguez said of her arrest. Quote, she's been here since she was 6. She's more American than she is anything else, unquote. Oh, family matters, you know, they can be complicated. But Caroline Leavitt, you know she's on Trump's side about immigration, and she's not going to do anything to upset him, even if it involves her own goddamn family, okay? The saddest part in all of this is that this person was brought to the United States, you know, at 6 years old, okay? And the children brought here by their parents, you know, usually didn't have a choice because they followed their parents and they did what their parents told them, you know? I mean, it wouldn't be surprised if she was set up by her sister-in-law at the brother's request. You know, it seems like a coincidence that she was on her way to pick up her son, and then the shit hit the fan, right? I mean, think about that for a minute. You know, like I said, family matters. I mean, there might have been some kind of feuding going on there in the background behind all this stuff, and Leavitt says, you know what, this would be a good way to get rid of her, you know, and put an end to this, you know, and just have her deported. You know, I don't know. But, you know, people can take something like what Trump's doing, and then all of a sudden they're, you know, cherry picking out of that who they want to see out based on a law that, you know, was advertised to us as to help America, but no, we're going to use this, you know, on behind the lines to pick people we can't stand and get rid of them, you know. That way she wouldn't, you know, that her brother wouldn't lose custody, I guess, of the kid, supposedly. But I don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot going on when it comes to that, to the, you know, to this kind of shit, deporting people, kicking them out of the country for mysterious reasons. Sometimes not even criminals. They have no record. They, you know, or some of them even are citizens, okay, in this country, and they're still deported. And so you have to wonder, are they really going after people that they think are here illegally, or is that a smokescreen to get rid of people and deport them, certain people that they don't like, you know? And being in the government as they are, they could manufacture any kind of fucking excuse to justify taking anyone out of the United States. Who's going to question it? I mean, nobody knows these folks except, you know, it's the few friends and family that they have, but none of us would know who they are. So when the government says they're here illegally, some of us will take their word for it. The rest of us who are smart enough to know that Trump lies all the time will say, okay, that doesn't sound good. He's lying. You know, there's got to be another reason. And that's what I'm coming to, is like, I figure there's another reason. And like I said, this is probably some kind of fucking family thing that went on. Leave it probably says, well, we can use Trump's policy here of getting rid of illegals, and we can say she's been, even though she's been here since she was 6 years old and she's 33 years old now, no, she can't stay. You know, she was married to my brother. I want her out. That way he gets the kid and she don't, you know what I'm saying? They probably never liked her from day one, that family. They probably hated her, maybe because she's, a foreigner, Latino, whatever. That could be as simple as that. They just didn't like her from day one because she wasn't white. Okay? And since the marriage kind of fell apart, I guess, with Caroline's brother, they figured now we can get rid of her, under those grounds. And who the hell's going to question it, right? But, I feel like, this is Gestapo-type fucking logic that's being used here, and it's wrong. It's not what people were expecting that this would be. The people that voted for Trump thought that, just illegal immigrants were the ones they were going to round up. And sure, he did round up some, but there ain't that many, as Trump was trying to sell us during the campaign last year. There aren't as many illegals in this country as he's led us to believe, okay? There's far fewer, less than half of what he said was out there. So he's got this 20 million number rolling around in his head, and he's got room to play with. After he's gotten rid of, the few million that are here, there's still more openings there for seats out of this country that, he's going to go after other, 15 million more people. Okay? So, anything's possible. And so I can't expect that we're going to see much change in this here as this goes on. Now, here's this disturbing other story here from The Independent, written by Isabel Keene, entitled, "Moment a Teenage Greeter at Chili's is attacked by a group of upset people about restaurant's wait time." A teenage greeter at a Chicago, let me show you a picture here of this teenage. They say she's teenage, but she looks younger than a teenager. Okay? I don't know. She looks like she's barely the age of working. Christ, she looks like a little kid. But she's a greeter at Chili's, okay? Anyway, this greeter at a Chicago Chili's restaurant was attacked last week by a group of people who were upset about the wait time and mistook her bidding them farewell as sarcasm. Brianna Drew, a 19-year-old single mother, 19 and a single, like I said, she looks like a kid, says she was punched, kicked, and had her hair ripped from her scalp after telling a group at the Chili's restaurant at Marshfield Plaza last week that it would be a longer wait for a table. Quote, "I said it's going to be another 30 minutes. They were upset and started yelling, 30 minutes, and being aggressive," unquote, she said, Drew. The group decided to leave, but took issue with the standard farewell. Drew says she tells every customer leaving the establishment. Quote, "They decided they were going to leave. I said, all right, y'all enjoy the rest of your day. And they assumed I was being sarcastic and trying to, play with them. That's brand standard," unquote, she said. However, instead of leaving, the group known only as, quote, "J Party of 6, unquote, came rushing back into the restaurant. A video taken from a surveillance camera inside the restaurant captured the group launching a violent attack on the young worker. The footage shows Drew being hit by a woman and then by a man before the situation escalated into chaos. Quote, they are hitting me in my face, hitting me in my head, they are hitting me everywhere, unquote, she said. Chicago police were called, but the group of attackers had fled by the time officers arrived. Chicken shit assholes. Drew suffered minor physical injuries, including bruises, but says she wants the group arrested and charged following the unprovoked attack. Quote, at no point did I threaten anyone. They could have just left, but all they decided to do was to come back in and attack me, unquote, she said. Quote, I can't believe that something like this happened to me. If you ask anybody, I'm nice. Everybody says I'm nice. The regulars, they love me, unquote. Drew says Chili's and the Chicago police are each conducting their own investigations. Chili's did not immediately return a request for comment from the Independent. Okay. Yeah. A lot of hotheads out there. Question. Question. And it has to be asked. I mean, it's one of those things. Do you suppose if she was white, that would have happened? Let's remember the times we're living in right now, people. We got a president who loves racism. Okay, he loves, and that's his base basically, that they supported him because he hated black people and he hated Latinos and illegals, and he made it okay for people to feel like, well, if we're not comfortable around him, we can show it, because hey, the man at the top does this every fucking day. Okay, so if this little girl here was white, do you think that attack would have happened? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I haven't seen the video, so I don't really know. I mean, they have a picture of a caption, or not a clip, but a screenshot. That's the word I'm looking for. You got a screenshot of the video, and it's not really that clear because it was done at night, and you can't really see faces. You can't really see, who's doing what. Okay, I don't even know where the fucking video would be to find it, but it looks, it looks, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just saying, I mean, at first look, it seems like maybe those people might have been black too that were attacking her. I don't know. It's really hard to tell from the video. It could be just the shadow or something like that. But the thing is like I'm saying, you think that would have happened if she was white, and chances are probably not. But the thing of it is that this kind of agitation that seems to be around out there in public, these days, where people are just flipping out. And I don't know how much YouTube you people out there watch, but I see videos all the time on YouTube of cops out there dealing with people, because cops wear body cams, and those body cams, all that footage becomes public domain. Okay, people can see that. They have access to it. So that stuff can be put out on the internet and stuff like that. People can watch. And the number of people out there that just feel entitlement, the world rotates on what I do. And, it's astounding how there's so many people out there that walk around with that kind of attitude. They feel like, I'm here. I should be, everybody else should leave. I'm here, going to her, I've said this to people before. If you're going to eat out, don't be in a hurry. If there's things that you need to do those things first, and then go eat out. That way, you don't feel like you're rushed. Okay, because yes, the wait times in some cases are going to be long, because there's a lot of people. The staff in a lot of restaurants has shrunk. Okay, and so the wait times are going to be high. So if you go into these restaurants and you're like, oh, let's hurry up here. You're making yourself sick here with anxiety, and you're going to be bitchy and ugly, and you're not going to enjoy your experience. And there's certain times of the day where a restaurant is really full, and then there's times when there's not much business. okay? And a lot of people like to eat at these places at the same time. So, you know, like I said, you have to accept that there's going to be waits. There's going to be delays. You might have to reserve a seat. You might have to call ahead and ask if it's busy. You know, certainly like here around here with Texas Roadhouse, the worst times to eat there is Friday night, the weekends, and those are the times that you know I would call ahead, or I like to sit at the bar, so you can't reserve a seat at a bar. But if you go in there, you can wait until somebody leaves, and they usually eat and leave, you know, pretty quick. So I'm never in a hurry. Like I said, I can wait. If it's even 20 minutes, I'll wait. You know, I'll stand there and wait because it's worth it. But the thing of it is that those days are very busy. So you have to keep that in mind. If you have a favorite restaurant, you know, understand the routine there. Talk to the staff, ask them, you know, what are the better times to come eat here? You know, that's how you know, learn things. But God damn it, don't go in there and all of a sudden get all irate and take it out on this, you know, on a girl or, you know, a kid or somebody who's just doing her job. She can't make that snap her fingers and all of a sudden a table materializes. That she can't do that. She's there to greet you and to seat you. That's it. But to go in there and demand to be seated when there's no spaces available and the wait time is going to be high, what you do is go find someplace else to eat. You know, yeah, I know Chili's has got some great food there, okay? But, you know, in a city like Chicago, it ain't the only game in town, right? There's got to be other places that you can, you know, plan B. But, you know, or you just do something and come back an hour or two later. But, you know, taking your anger out on its innocent employee who's got no control over the fact that the place is full, that's ridiculous. That's like, pounding somebody into the ground for dropping a hammer, you know, or something like that. It's just, you know, you're just frustrated. That's evident that you were frustrated, but it's not wise. And it's not righteous to go and do something like that. And I hope that the police find who these people are, you know, and they get an education, because you don't get away with stuff like that. That girl there has got every right to go and charge them for they could have killed her. You know what? It was, I don't know how many people. Looked like there was about 4 or 5 people there beating the shit out of her. They could have killed her. You know, and it really sickens me when I think about how entitled people are in this country now, that they go to places and they expect to be waited on like they're, you know, some fucking billionaire or something that just walked through the damn door. You know, I'm sorry. But you're not that important. You're just another customer to them, okay? But you know, it's really weird how there's such an increase of that attitude that's floating around out there in the United States, in the population. I'm not really sure how it started. All I know is that people need to smarten up and dial it fucking back, okay? You're not more important than the person next to you, okay? Making a person wealthy does not make that person more important than the person next to them. All right, they just happen to have something that another person doesn't. Okay, that doesn't make that person more valuable. You know, you might disagree and say, well, the school of hard knocks, you know, I don't care about that. A person is a person, and you treat each other respectfully. I don't care, you know, where it is you're going. If you feel you're a customer and that entitles you to beat up on employees, you're wrong. Okay, you don't get to do that. That's against the law, and you'll pay the consequences for that. If they find you, you will pay. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck, you know? And it's like, you know, more of the same bullshit. You know, this country, the people in this country. I mean, I can see better now that why other people around the world think Americans are arrogant and stuff like that. They are. They are. You know, I'm not going to say every American is, but I'm going to say there is a growing attitude of arrogance in this country that needs to be addressed. People need to be brought down off of their high horse. Okay, they need to be brought down off their high horse because somebody filled their heads with ideas that you're going to be great. You know, when you're, you know, I don't know what the hell to tell these people, but you're not. You know, the only thing that's going to make you stand out is you got yourself in trouble doing something and now you're all over the internet. You know, okay? That's the best you can hope for. But I feel like this is a time where Americans' heads are super inflated with ideas of grandeur, and you know, and it's a sad mix of what's happening in this country. Really signs of a nation on its decline. You know, and every nation has its decline. The United States is no different. Okay, I know those same people say, "Oh, fuck you," you know, it's in the United States, we're the best. No, we're not. We're not any better than any other country out there. Okay, really, because it all depends on what you make your country into. All right, you either have principles to stand on, or you sell out those principles for something stupid, which we did last year. Okay. We gave up all the principles this country was founded on for something stupid to follow, and that's where we're going now. All right, so that's it for today, everybody, and I hope you all have a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. And treat each other nice out there. Be helpful, be supportive, be friendly, okay? And I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, everybody. Bye-bye.